Hey, welcome back to the Let's Talk Live podcast. It is October 5th, 2023. And I think this is like episode 122. Unreal. Since changing the name, we're in the books at 122 episodes. How's everybody doing this evening? Gonna wait a little bit, let the room fill in a little bit here. Get some peeps in here. We're going to talk a little Bryan Kohberger tonight. Little Bryan Kohberger. Got some updates for everybody. I know it's been a while since I've done this subject. I've kind of laid off on it. There's a bunch of creators that just continue to just beat this drum over and over and over and over and over and over again. And they go back and they go to the middle and they go to the front and they think to the future and they go to the past and they try to just dig all this stuff up. That's not going to make any sense or help anything in this case. You will not solve this case. Believe me, there's nothing more that needs to be said unless legal documents come out or verified articles or verified information. You're not going to mix and twist this thing each another way. Just ain't going to happen. It ain't going to happen. So we got some new information. We got some new information tonight that we're going to get into. We'll wait a little bit here. We'll let everybody get in. We'll do our customary. The show is live right now. So if you're watching this on replay, it is live. I interact with the live audience in the chat. And if you're here live, you can chat there on the right-hand side of the screen. If not, if this is posted, you can always go down and do the hashtag replay. We always like to see the replays and always make sure to upvote the stream. Upvote the stream. All right, let's check in and see what we have here. Bella's here. Hello, friends. See y'all at 8:15. I started a little bit earlier tonight. Bella. Minnie's here. Minnesota's here. Carrie's here. She says she's just driving around. That's all Carrie's doing. She's driving around. We'll give her a little driving around. Haven't done one of those in a while. Carrie's here. Jay Lord's here. Lily Black. Truth Wins. Karen's here. Cold or Covered is here. Good to see you. OCD is back in the house. Good to see you again. DM, watching from South Florida. Where's everybody from? Type in the chat. OCD says, my Anthony Farah video was fantastic. Thank you. Jonathan says, kid has a terrible lawyer. I agree. Minx is here. Indigo Babe is here. Good to see you. Hello. Who else we got? That's it right now. Harley Girl coming in the room. Good to see you. Now, isn't it funny? Shani's here. Oh, look at this. Ellie's here. Victorine back in the house. Hope you're doing well. Jersey Girl is here. Now, isn't it funny that someone on this very night, at the same very time that I'm doing my stream, another creator is doing the exact same stream that I am tonight? Almost, and I get tipped off today. Someone told me, they sent me an email and they said, hey, did you see this? They literally have almost the same exact title as the title that I'm doing tonight. How is that possible? How is that possible that our brains would link up exactly the same time and say, I'm going to do some Idaho content tonight. Nah, we're going to talk about Dylan Mortensen. We're going to talk about the Amazon probe. How can that happen? Oh, I know how it happens. Well, it's because I put my tile and my title up very first thing in the morning, and you wait a long time to put yours up because I know you look around and you go, what can I do today? What can I do? Oh, that's what I'll do. The same time and same subject and same title and almost the same thumbnail. It's funny, isn't it? It's funny how that happens. Ellen's back. 3-month member says, I'm back. Hope you are well. Sending love from the UK. Well, we love you here. So, I'm not saying any names. You're all smart and you all can figure it out. Believe me. Believe me. And this is why I haven't done Idaho content. That's why I have laid off it. Because I watch to see what they all do. You know, they wait. What's he doing tonight? Looking back. Is he looking back? Guess who started that? Guess who started that series way back in like early March, April? Guess what channel was that? And then everybody went, oh, that's such a good idea. I'm going to do that on my channel too. And then everybody started doing it. Yeah. And look where we're at. Right. Would you look at it? Crimes, lies, and videotapes in the house. What's up? How are you? Karen says, how's your new job, Bryan? The new job is great. Just still getting my footing in the door. I've only worked 3 shifts there, but my boss is like uber cool. I actually didn't see my schedule generated for next week. And I said, hey, I get a question. And I said, you know, my boss's name. I texted him, hey, didn't see the schedule generated for next week. Is it okay if I get Wednesday off? And he's like, no problem. Like super cool, laid back, super cool. He's a little bit older than me. So he's been through it. He's been through the ringer. And I literally just go in and say, what do you need me to do? And he just says this, or that, or just, you know, do this, do that. And that's it. Really cool, laid back. So I see some longevity there. And I'm really happy. You know, we'll evaluate it. We'll take an evaluation in about 90 days. You got to give it about 90 days, see how things are. But so far, so good. Great company. Lots of chemistry on the team. Really good people. Don't see really any big negativity in there. Stuff that I was dealing with before. And again, you know, I talked about this on my members only stream. And I'm trying to kill a little bit of time. I want to try to get some people in the chat room. So I hope you don't mind me talking about this. But just what was I saying? Just super laid back. I'm back in a certain area of my profession that I haven't been in a long time, so it's kind of revamped and revigorated me. The establishment that I'm in is very busy, so it's constant. So it's kind of cool because I'll look down like you know, like I'll get there and then I'll look down. I'm like, oh wow, 4 hours have already gone by. I need to take my lunch. So really cool. It's been good. And I'm not like the man anymore. And I needed to like step back and just take a step back because now it allows me to do this a little bit more, allows me to concentrate back on this. And you know, I'm not the man, you know. It's nice to take a little bit of a break from that, to not have those type of stresses. So what do I do? What's the best way that I can describe this? I am in management. I'm in management, and I'm in the, how can I say it? I'm in the apparel industry. So I'm sure you all can figure it out. But it's high-end apparel, and it's cool. It's fun. I have history with this company before because a previous company that I was with sold their products. So I know a lot about the company, and I enjoy their products. And so far, it's been good. You know, my boss is super laid back, and he's been pretty good. Karen says, you seem a lot happier. Yeah, you know, it's 3 days in, so you never know, you know, but I'm trying to approach this with an open mindset. So far, things have been good. It's just getting in, getting to know everybody, getting to know all the, you know, getting to know the team and just see how the operations work. So super happy about it so far. A lot of people checking in tonight. Nice to see everybody. Smash that like button when you come in. Again, I'm just killing a little bit of time here, maybe a couple more minutes, and then we'll start getting into the show for tonight. So if you're watching this on replay, just skip ahead when the show starts. We like to kind of burn a few minutes and allow people to come in, because sometimes people come in halfway through and they go, what the hell are you talking about? So everyone suspect said, where were Ethan and Xana for the missing time? Linda Lane audio shows a lot going on between 2 and 4, starting to really think Bryan might be innocent. Well, everybody's entitled to their own opinion. We here on the LTL podcast, especially myself, believe that there is a mounting amount of evidence to show that Bryan Kohberger is definitely the person that should be incarcerated right now behind bars. I mean, he is the person of interest. Again, he's someone that is innocent until proven guilty. But in my opinion, the evidence is very strong against him. I think the opinion of most of the people in here as well probably think that Bryan Kohberger is the sole person that did commit these murders. So everybody's entitled to opinion. All good. If you want to watch the show, it's for you. If not, you can just click off the show. So no problem. But thanks for sharing your opinion. We love it. Okay. So we got about 71 people in here. We'll wait a couple more minutes. Does anybody have any quick questions before we get on with the show? So everybody says they really need to release some of the evidence to us. Well, what would you like to see? What would you like to see? Because I feel like we have a plethora of evidence. And if you've done any really deep dives into it or just gone back and looked at all the case files, and I'm not sure if you have, but I encourage you to look at the case file page. And I'm sure you have, because you seem like you're very invested in this case. But let's do this. If you haven't, I'll drop the case file of all the legal documents there. And you can go on there, just scroll down about 3/4 on the page, and you will get the state versus Bryan Kohberger. And you can read through all of the information in this case. Hello, how are you? OCD says, we can agree to disagree, but I agree with Bryan. Patty Q checking in. Hello. Yeah, so far so good. Yeah, no problem, man. Everybody's here to chat. We have a great group that comes in the lives and hangs out. We don't get any conspiracy theories here. We keep everything straight and to the legal documents. So, no, Karen, does Agent Chase ever come on anymore? She was great. Yeah, no, I haven't heard from Laura in quite some time. I think the last time that I spoke with her via text might have been well over a month ago. And the last time that anybody was my camp, my little small camp that I had together, the last time we all chatted communally was July 4th weekend. And then after July 4th weekend, everybody disappeared. The only person that I've really stayed in constant contact with is my moderator, Tsunami, because I've talked to him offline many, many of times, but we were all in the chat. I know Candy comes in still. We used to all be in a group together in a Discord group, but once the breach on Discord happened, we kind of, I don't know, everything just kind of fell out. Everybody got busy over 4th of July weekend, and that's really the last time we all really chatted together. Laura, I don't know. I asked her last time that we chatted, I said, hey, why don't you come in on the show one of these times? You want to do that? You know, it was always an open panel to you. She said, sure, I'll check it out sometime, but I don't know. She's just really, really busy, I guess. All good though, but she's always welcome. If she ever wants to come back, I'll drop the I'll drop the link to her. So Mary says the knife. Everybody's going on about the Amazon knife, and that's been out since February and far from new. Absolutely. Yeah, I think there's just some more probing into it now. We're going to get into that tonight. But this is the thing where, they have to hash things up and keep things going in the media to get clicks and views on stories. That's why people haven't stopped talking about this, because I think what happens is we've talked about it so long, and people have invested so much into this case. I myself, I've invested months and months of research, many hours of my ass in this seat talking about this case. And I think what happens is we become very conditioned to, when maybe a new video pops up or a new live stream pops up, it urges you to go in there and you think that you're going to get some like breaking news, and that's why I've always been very transparent, like on my titles, like tonight we're going to talk about the police probe Amazon for the knife, and we're going to talk about Dylan Mortensen. It's not getting people in there and going, I think it may be the dog that heard at 2 a.m. and then fetched a bone and then went to some guy and he wrote a note and put it in the dog's mouth, and the dog can't, you get my point, but that's what we hear in a lot of these kind of streams. Sometimes you got to let something go and let it kind of float into the ether a little bit and then come back around to it, because it will burn you out. I mean, I don't know what much more I could do, like on this case. What do? I sit there and pop up a 4-hour live and just go, I don't know, man. What do you think? Do you think that it could have been a guy that was walking around at like 11 and then he saw the house? Like, this is what these people do. It's crazy. It's crazy. When's the next hearing? I'm going to actually show you right now. I was prepared. DM. All right, so we got the first legal document here, the last in the pile on the page. Let's bring this up. I guess we'll get into the show. So tonight, what I want to talk about is a little bit of review in the 48-hour special. Who was the real target? We have a Dylan Mortensen update and the new information. Investigators building a case against suspected student Bryan Kohberger, and they are probing Amazon purchases connected to the case. Yes, we heard about that in February, but there's been a little bit of new information in it, but we'll hear this. All right, so we have state of Idaho versus Bryan C. Kohberger. It was filed back on 9/21/2023. The court having before its stipulation motion of vacate resets defendant's motion are good cause appearing now. Therefore, it is hereby ordered that the defendant's motion hearing currently set for September 22nd, 2023 at 10 a.m. and 1 p.m. shall be vacated. It is further ordered that the defendant's motion to dismiss indictment on the grounds of biased grand jury, inadmissible evidence, lack of sufficient evidence, and prosecutorial misconduct in withholding exculpatory evidence shall be reset for October 26th at 2023 at a 9:30 a.m. hearing and shall be closed hearing pursuant to IRC 6-3C and IRCA 32. So October 26th is the next hearing. It is further ordered that the defendant's motion to dismiss indictment on the grounds of error in the grand jury instructions or the alternative remand of preliminary hearing shall be reset for October 26, 2023 at 1 p.m. and shall be open to the public. That is open to the public. Open to the public. Really cool. Cool stuff. So that will be open to the public. Can you imagine the flooding right now of reservations at hotels in and around that area? Can you imagine the flooding of people at that courtroom on October 26th? It's going to be a madhouse there. It's going to be an absolute madhouse. All right, let's get out of that document there. So October 26th is the next court date for Bryan C. Kohberger. 100 people in the room. Smash that like button. We're only at 45 likes. Please smash the like button. I don't beg for money, but I beg for people to smash that like button. We need to get this out. 100 likes is our goal tonight. All right, let's go back here and look at the 48-hour special. I want to talk a little bit of a review. Obviously, about 3 weeks ago, we had a new 48-hour special that came out, and they talked about who they thought the real target was in this case. So during the new 48-hour special about the Idaho 4 about 2 weeks ago, new information about the Idaho murders, the Gonzalez family revealed that they think Maddie was the target due to the coroner, Kathy Mobbitt, revealing it to them before the gag order was put into place. But we must ask, who was the real target? And I'm going to put a poll up there. Who do we think the real target? Who did you all think was the real target from that special? Poll at the top. So I had some thoughts. Is this a way? Because, I mean, I guess you can go off the coroner's report, but is this a way that maybe this is a different stage of grieving now the Gonzalez family is in? You know, is this a way for them to cope with the tragedy, to maybe think like Kaylee wasn't the target and it really was Maddie? So I ask you all that. What do you think? Is this them wanting to come to the realization that Kaylee could have been the target? Is this a grieving stage? Is it a grieving stage? Let me know what you think up there at the poll. We'll pull up a little bit of review here and let's go into this here. Here we go.
It's been a long and painful journey for the families of Kaylee Gonzalez, Madison Mogan, Xana Kernodle, and Ethan Chapin, the 4 University of Idaho students who were stabbed to death in the pre-dawn hours of November 13th, 2022.
Do you ever dream of your sister?
Yeah, I've
had some dreams of her. Just gives me some peace knowing that I know she's okay.
Xana Kernodle's sister Jasmine and father Jeffrey are speaking.
You know, and what we're seeing now too is that, you know, some of the family members of the other victims are now getting, you know, and I don't want to say comfortable, because it's a terrible word to think about that in this case, but they're almost, you know, coming out a little bit more and speaking, you know, having the opportunity to see how they feel, because, you know, obviously the most that we've seen has been the Gonzalez family. Then the most front and forward with, you know, about speaking. And I'm gonna be honest with you. If I was Steve Gonzalez, Christy Gonzalez, I was the family of Kaylee, I would be out there every day screaming at the top of my lungs. And I know that they've gotten a lot of shit about that, which I don't know. I don't understand why a grieving family that had their daughter scrubbed out, murdered, you know, brutally, why people would give a family shit about speaking up about it. I mean, that's one of the most ridiculous statements that I heard on creators' channels for months. Oh, you know, I think it's ridiculous that they're out there talking. It's disgusting that they're out there talking about this, that they're, you know, they're out being vocal. They just want camera time. They want to be celebrities. You know what? Fuck you. Fuck you to the people that said that. Fuck you. Because I would be like that if that was my daughter. I'd be screaming at the top of my lungs, wanting to know who did this to my daughter and her friends, who went in the middle of the night, like Freddy Krueger, as to Christy Gonzalez says, the boogeyman, and went in and murdered 4 innocent people. Fuck you. Fuck you, you stupid creators. You know, who would ever say that? Oh, they just want camera time. Fuck you. They want camera time in the sense of they want to get their story out there. They want to get people, you know, eyes and ears on this story. You know, maybe someone has something to contribute, some piece of evidence, something that they heard, you know, a tip to go on. So screw those people. Fuck them. All right, let's keep playing through here.
Out for the first time since Xana's murder.
It just happened, you know? What do? You can't do a damn thing.
Everybody's going to work and you look out the window and there's kids running down the street laughing and you're just like, how can you be out there playing? My daughter's dead.
On the night of the murders, Christy and Steve Gonzalez's daughter Kaylee was in the same bed as her childhood friend, Maddie Mogen. The Gonzalezes say coroner Kathy Mabbitt told them before a gag order the killer attacked Maddie first, then moved on to Kaylee.
There's evidence to show that she awakened and tried to get out of that situation.
They say she...
Interesting how Steve looked at Christy. You know, it's like, you know, they know that look right there. You know, maybe that's the confirmation. Like, we know that she fought. We know she tried to get away. You know, that's what I look when I see that look in his eyes. We know that she fought. You know, we know she tried to get away. She fought.
They say she cried out, and her wounds show she fought for her life.
The way the bed was set up is what...
She was trapped.
She was trapped.
Xana also fought back. According to her father, she had severe defensive wounds.
She went down fighting.
I believe so. It's upsetting to think about.
She's always a very strong person.
A judge has entered a plea of not guilty on Bryan Kohberger's behalf, but he is not the person the families want us to remember.
He's not important other than what he did and being held accountable. I'll be here to keep reminding people who these victims are.
You can see Peter's full report.
All right, we're going to dump that out and get to this super chat really quick. Allison, thank you so much. $4.99 super chat. I could see Maddie doing a cold shoulder and possibly pissing BK off. Kaylee was maybe too sweet. Well, that's how Allison feels. That's how Allison feels. Thank you so much for the $4.99. Appreciate you so much.
Great cash, homie.
All right. So we've gone over that, Texas. I actually have a really great stream about that. Let me pull that up. So if anybody wants to review that, I had a stream with actually Laura, Agent Chase, back a few months ago. And we actually came up with that theory before this 48-hour special actually came out. And we had a really great presentation that we put together for that stream. And let me drop that link in there. If anybody hasn't seen that, they can at least go back to it at some point and review it. It was a really, really great presentation. Give me 2 seconds and I'll find that. It was a while ago. Wow, it really was a while ago. Let's see. Right here. Yeah, it was called The Encounter. It was 4 months ago we came up with that theory. And I will drop that in the chat if anybody has of any interest to watch that. I've played snippets of it on this show before, after 48 Hour Special came up with that. And, you know, our theory 4 months ago was almost right on. It was almost right on, like right on. Okay, so let's go to this here, another review. This is from Daily Mail, and this is with Caitlin Becker. I love her. She does great reporting. Let's play this. You know, who was the real target? Let's see what she thinks.
In the Idaho murder case suggests that Maddie Mogen, not Kaylee Gonzalez, was Bryan Kohberger's alleged target. Several long-held questions about the quadruple homicide were answered this weekend when some of the victims' families sat down with 48 Hours. Who was killed first? Was there a connection to the killer? What happened the morning the bodies were found? It has always been my assumption that the perpetrator went to 1122 King Road on November 13th with the goal of killing one person, most likely Kaylee or Maddie. Based on all the evidence currently out there, I always lean more towards Kaylee, but now I am not so sure. Kaylee's own family is revealing never before heard details about the crime scene and the alleged killer that points directly to Maddie Mogen as the target. Kaylee's parents and her sister Olivia have been outspoken advocates for their daughter and the three victims since day one. So outspoken at times that members of the public have criticized them for getting in the way of the investigation. But from the moment a deputy showed up on their doorstep at 4 p.m. on November 13th to tell them that Kaylee was murdered, the Gonzalez family mobilized to help find her killer. And one of the things they did early on was speak to the coroner, who gave them details that up until this point I had never heard, details about the crime scene. Now, I'm sure you're wondering how this was all able to happen with the current gag order in place. The gag order covers the attorneys and the investigators, but it doesn't prohibit families from speaking out. The coroner is covered by this gag order, but the Gonzalez family spoke to Coroner Kathy Mabbitt prior to it being put in place by the judge. Now, from the onset of the investigation, police were firm in their opinion that the crime was targeted, but they never said who the target was.
The bed was up against the wall. The headboard was touching the wall, and the left side of the bed was touching the wall. And we believe that Maddie was on the outside and Kaylee was on the inside.
According to Coroner Mabbitt, the killer's first victim was Maddie, says Steve.
And then from Maddie, he moved on to your daughter.
This is huge. Up to this point, investigators have never confirmed the order of the killings. If what the Gonzalez's claim the coroner told them is true, and it was Maddie, we might have our biggest clue yet about the intended target, which may lead us to motive. We have known for a while that the murders started on the third floor with Kaylee and Maddie. Surviving roommate Dylan said she woke up around 4 a.m. to what sounded like Kaylee playing with her dog on the third floor, followed by one of the girls upstairs saying someone's here. At this point, we know Xana was still alive on the second floor, having gotten a DoorDash around that time, plus she was active on TikTok at 4:13 a.m. when Kaylee and Maddie were likely being stabbed to death a floor above. By all accounts, it seems that the killer silently slipped into the house from that back sliding glass door and made a beeline for the bedrooms on the third floor, indicating that he expected his primary target to be there that night. Kaylee and Maddie were up there sleeping in the same bed. Even though Kaylee lived in the house, she had actually moved out already because she was graduating. She was just there visiting for the weekend. So let's imagine this, the way Kaylee's mom describes it. One side of Maddie's bed was up against the wall with Maddie sleeping on the outside, putting Kaylee between her and the wall. Now, in this configuration, Maddie would have been the first person that the killer had access to upon entering the room, and he would have needed to lean or climb over her in order to get to Kaylee. Now, the Gonzalez's said that they uncovered evidence that Kaylee had tried to get out of the situation but was trapped. They didn't expand on what that means, but it could mean defensive wounds or just kind of how her body was positioned on the mattress. The knife sheath was also dropped to the right of Maddie's body with the killer's DNA on the snap. That always felt to me like this is where the murders began, that the killer snuck in, unsnapped the sheath, and pulled the knife out for the first time, dropping the sheath in the process, effectively marking his start point. Now, the sheath was discovered by investigators on the mattress partially underneath of Maddie's body. So I really do think he dropped it right when he unsheathed the knife for the first time. Does Maddie Mogen being the first victim killed mean that she was the intended target? Not necessarily. It could simply be that the way they were sleeping, she was just the first one the killer got to. But Kaylee's parents revealed more circumstantial evidence pointing directly towards Maddie. When Bryan Kohberger was arrested on December 30th, it was the first time anyone had heard his name, including the families of the victims.
So I said that I really love Caitlin Becker's approach to journalism. She's really great, straightforward. I love her presentations that they put together for her. Obviously she has an editor, but her presentations are amazing. And yeah, I mean, no problem. We'll get through it. We're gonna have a good show tonight. We're gonna have a good show. Trust me. We'll make this a good show. All right, let's keep playing through here.
Investigators had never tipped their hand that they even had a suspect. But as soon as the Gonsalves family heard the suspect's name, they tried to find him on social media, and they came across this account.
From our investigation of the account, it appeared to be the real.
I remember seeing that account when it was still live. I remember people sending me screenshots of it, and it was still live. And I think it had that one creepy video on it or something that was posted there. Which was
Bryan Kohberger account.
The one they claim was the real deal is this one that is one of many that have been floating around Reddit for months. It had one post, 1,943 followers, and was following 99 accounts. Some of them, according to the Gonsalveses, were Kohberger's known relatives.
And I remember looking and seeing who he was following too.
Maddie's Instagram account and look at her pictures, and he liked them.
This statement made alarm bells go off in my head the second I heard it. Notice she didn't say that the account interacted with Kaylee's photos or Xana's photos, just Maddie's. Sources had previously told People magazine that Kohberger followed all three of the female victims on social media, but had repeatedly messaged only one of them. And now I'm wondering if that person was the same one who had photos that he liked. A source also told the outlet that Kohberger's phone contained multiple images of one of the victims. And again, I am wondering if the evidence will show that those photos were of Maddie. Olivia Gonsalves also had access to her sister Kaylee's phone and call logs, which she turned over to the police. So I have to imagine if she went through her sister's phone and found a bunch of unanswered messages from some guy, she would have mentioned it to the police and probably again in this interview. Now, according to authorities, Kohberger showed up repeatedly outside of the victim's home prior to the murders, starting as far back as August 21st, when his phone pinged a tower covering the area near 1122 King Road. Logically, if Kohberger was allegedly stalking the house, which is down that random back road, he would have had to have come in contact with the girls before that in order to figure out where they lived. There has been an unsubstantiated rumor flying around for months that the suspect would frequent the Mad Greek restaurant where two of the victims worked, Xana and Maddie. Now, the restaurant has denied this, but I've actually eaten there, and I'm positive that the owners wouldn't remember me, so I think it's plausible maybe they just didn't remember him. This is likely the place where he first came across these two victims. He's a vegan, they serve vegan food, and there's a limited amount of that in the area. Now, Kohberger was enrolled in nearby Washington State University, not the University of Idaho where the victims went. But one of the victims did have a connection to WSU, and this time it's not Maddie. Xana Kernodle's older sister, Jasmine.
No, it's not WSU, Kim.
Was a senior at WSU. Now, like Xana, Jasmine majored in marketing, so it seems
that clown's still floating around.
That her undergrad.
Is that clown still floating around on the streams? WSU Kim, is that clown still floating around on streams?
This would have overlapped with Kohberger's graduate ones, but it's just worth mentioning that they went to the same school. Jasmine and her father also spoke to 48 Hours and divulged new information about the hours after the murders. 911 wasn't called until noon the next day, but along with the police, Jasmine was contacted by Xana's friends. There were multiple people already at the house when 911 was finally called. In addition to the surviving roommates, Bethany and Dylan, police said that several other people were there and that neither of the survivors made the 911 call, though it was made from one of their phones. It's never been explained whether they were there because other roommates had guests in their rooms the night before, which is one possibility. The other, which is a theory that has been floated in Reddit threads,
smashing that like button,
were called before the police. Now, he was a triplet, and both his brother and sister were students at the University of Idaho. Now,
at 77 likes, let's get to a hundo. 100, and I'll drop some free memberships. We get to a hundo, we'll drop some free memberships. And then I'm thinking maybe once we get to around 12,000 subscribers, I'm going to do another prize giveaway. So let's get up to 100 likes tonight. That is our goal. Mods, work the room for me. Let's get this up to 100 likes so we can get this stream out beyond the YouTube evil algorithm. All right, let's keep playing.
Along with the Chapins, it would make sense to me for some of Ethan's Sigma Chi brothers to have been called because they were just close by. You can actually see the Sigma Chi frat house from 1122 King Road. Why all of these people were at the house before cops were called is
Welcome
a
in,
huge
everybody.
mystery, and it doesn't make a lot of sense. And by the time Xana's sister Jasmine got there from Pullman, police had already arrived and closed the crime scene. Now, as we have discussed many times before, the scene was one of the blood.
Who are we? So Sue says it's disgusting when people on YouTube criticize him like we have any idea what this feels like. Who are we talking about? Who are we talking about? Who are we talking about? Who is him? I'm not giving away my boxers. Yes, that's right, Mary. Mary says in the Discord chat, first time Kim appeared, we laughed at her. She couldn't keep her story straight. We knew she was a fraud. Absolute 100% fraud. Absolute 100% fraud.
Bloodiest ones that he's ever witnessed. With so many people in the house before cops got there,
I think it's pretty cut and dry.
Pretty shocking that there wasn't blood tracked all over the house, or even.
I feel like it's pretty cut and dry. I mean, we know who did it. We know who did it. We know who did it. We know.
Out here on this
They
cement
got
patio.
him. He's arrested.
I don't know what to make of that other than just assuming that the group was either smart enough or unfortunately traumatized enough not to walk into
Oh, WSU Kim was a wackaloon. Let me just pull this back up. Hang on one second. So Bella's asking, who is Kim? I don't go to many subscribers. Sure. WSU Kim was a name that started popping up in the chats. And she said that she had all of this information about the Idaho 4 case, that her daughter knew all this stuff before, and that she's concerned and was going to go to a three letter organization, and she spoke with them and has called the Moscow police and said she had all this information. But it was funny. She started popping up on certain channels that have a lot in common. And when she started popping up, all of a sudden those channels started getting really big views. And Detective John's talked about this. He's talked about it. And it was very interesting what certain channels that she was always constantly popping up on. And those streams were getting like 50,000, 60,000 views. And all those subscribers were going over those channels and subscribing. You know, I literally could just set anything up and have someone call in and say, hey, I saw something on that night. And you wouldn't know. You know, eventually I think people would figure it out. But I think that's what happened, was this person started popping up on some certain channels all the time. And then when they get exposed as a fraud, you know, I would never do that. I would never deceive anybody on my channel. It's goofy to do that stuff because people would find out. She came on my channel. I let her on one time to rant for about 8 to 12 minutes. And I just literally sat there, and she sounded like she was just spinning in a circle when she was talking. And I ended up cutting it and re-uploading it. And you can find that on my channel. Wackaloon. Wackaloony. All right. Let's finish this up and get to a couple of other things.
Blood-soaked rooms before cops got there. But as to why the killer
We
didn't
always
leave a blood
change.
trail, the Gonsalveses think he had what's called a kill kit.
I think he had a
A
backpack.
change of clothes. We don't know if it was coveralls, pants, hoodie. We don't know.
This means he would have had minutes, maybe seconds, to change out of the clothes he wore into clean ones between the time Dylan heard crying in Xana's room and then seeing the killer walking out of the house. Now, the murder weapon and those bloody clothes have never been found. Search Daily Mail videos on Facebook for more clips like this. For more true crime content.
And that's it. Daily Mail. All right. What else we got? We're going to talk about the Amazon probe. We're going to talk about Dylan. Oh, I want to talk about this first, too. So this went back a little while ago from September 16th. We had another report, Daily Mail reporting. Let's see. Bryan C. Kohberger, Idaho college student, murder suspect Bryan Kohberger getting special treatment in prison. Dad of victim Kaylee Gonzalez reveals. Bryan Kohberger is accused of stabbing 4 University of Idaho students to death at the off-home campus on November 13th. Let's go to the article. Idaho quadruple murder suspect Bryan Kohberger is getting, quote, special treatment in jail, according to the father of one of the victims. The former criminology PhD student is accused of stabbing 4 University of Idaho students to death in their off-campus home on November 13th. Kohberger has been held at Latah County Jail in Moscow, Idaho since January while awaiting trial, which has been pushed back until at least next year after Kohberger waived his right to a speedy trial. Nope, we're probably going to see that in 2 to 3 years. That's my guess. Kaylee's father, Steve Gonzalez, has claimed Kohberger is getting much better treatment while in jail than other inmates with vegan meals, suits, and computer access. I've been informed that his pretrial privileges, like his 5 suits, video, and computer special treatment and vegan meals, are unprecedented in the history of Idaho. He told Fox News Digital. Following his initial court appearances in the orange jumpsuit, Kohberger started to show up in a suit and tie. Gonzalez had tried to find out who has paid for the suits through a public records request, but it was denied due to the gag order. They told us, he said, but I witnessed the moment they agreed not to handcuff him in court. Latah County Sheriff Richard Skiles previously said Kohberger's request for vegan meals, which are typically vegetables or rice and beans, would be met, but added, we are not going to buy new pots and pans. DailyMail.com. And that's the thing. Do you see the control? That is control. That is him trying to control the situation. We saw that in the traffic stop on his campus when he got pulled over for not making a correct stop or stopping too much through this. Was it a stop sign or stoplight? Stop sign. He kind of rolled through it. And then when he came at the police officer that pulled him over, he was trying to control the situation again. Do you remember that? Do you remember when he was controlling, kind of giving it back? Well, I know the law and the law, going on about that. Well, the law's in Pennsylvania from where I live. And he was saying that, no, I actually came to a complete. So I can't remember the whole gist of it, but you remember that's control. That's called, controlling the situation. The families of the murder victims interviewed by CBS News for a documentary airing on Saturday night titled The Night of the Idaho Student Murders. Gonzalez and Lavender Girl agrees. Her parents claim to have the evidence show that she tried to get out of that situation before she had been killed. He believes Kaylee was stuck with her friends, between her friend's body and the wall before the assailant attacked her, citing the coroner's report. Speaking of CBS, Piers Van Zandt, he said there is evidence to show that that she awakened and he tried to get out of the situation, but he assaulted and stabbed her. The bed was up against the wall. The headboard was touching the wall to the far left side of the bed. The bed was touching the wall. And we believe that Maddie was on the outside and Kaylee was on the inside, the way the bed was set up. Kaylee was trapped. Kaylee's mother, Christy, said that she thinks the killer plan went awry, adding that he intended to kill 1 and killed 4. Let's see if we have anything else here. Kohberger's defense team and Latah County prosecutor attorney Bill Thompson argued that the judge banned cameras from the future court proceedings. We know about that. Presiding on Wednesday. He said that the media has pushed the envelope with its coverage in the case and questioned whether the media has a right to intervene in trial. The judge dismissed the hearing without making a definitive rule on whether the trial would have cameras. And here's the suits. The suits attack. Man, I'll tell you, for a really young guy, and I saw some comparisons side by side, and maybe I can go back and look and maybe do a side by side. He has aged so much. He looks like a 40-year-old man. He looks like a 40-year-old man. Why? Why? Because stress of the situation. He looks old. Regrettably, it seems the judge and prosecutor overly concerned with accommodating the defense, leaving us, the advocates for our children, with no choice but to step forward, Gonzalez said. Let's see. Royal Oaks, a Los Angeles media attorney who convinced a court to allow O.J. Simpson murder trial to be televised in the 90s, said it's just both sides want to hide the proceedings from the public doesn't mean that the judge has to go along with the request. The public is entitled to see the judicial system at work. As they say, sunlight is the best disinfectant. I completely agree. This needs to be on TV. No hiding, no bullshit, all the facts right out there for everybody to see. If they're concerned, if everybody's so concerned about the camera zooming in on Kohberger, here you go. Fix camera position in the courtroom, not allowed to zoom in, not allowed to zoom out. There, finished. One camera, finished. We know exactly what will go on. We can see it, we can hear it, and we can make our assumptions based off that. Kohberger is facing 4 charges, first-degree murder, as well as felony burglary. If convicted, he could be sentenced to the death penalty. So a little bit there. Let's get to this video from Banfield.
So you can imagine my surprise waking up to hear that Bryan Kohberger's getting special treatment in the Latah County Jail, because I thought, no, he ain't. At least not that I've seen, right? I kind of have been following every single moment of his life in that jail, and none of it seems special. So, of course, Brian Enton would get to the bottom of it. Of course he would. All these reports out there that say he's got a special computer, that he's getting special meals, that he's allowed to wear fancy suits. Brian, what? I'm not so sure that's really
28.
True, is it?
Seen 28.
Yeah, so these reports came out this morning, and I've learned that most of it is not true, at least according to my sources. I have learned that he is using an older computer that is not connected to the internet. It is the same older computer that all the inmates get to use, and the only thing he can do on it, since it's not connected to the internet, is he can put a thumb drive into the computer that has his court documents on the thumb drive. He can review the documents, he can make comments, he can resave to the thumb drive, and then he can give that thumb drive back to his lawyer. Again, that's something that all the inmates in the Latah County Jail get to do, according to my sources. As for all this talk about the vegan meal, I am told it is just rice and beans. That's it, rice and beans, and that anyone else in the jail can have rice and beans also, if that's what.
Probably farts a lot. It's probably like Kohberger farts. All those beans and rice.
They want.
Probably farts.
So,
Think
okay,
he farts a
because
lot?
you and I have been talking at length since January about vegan meal options. We got the menu back then. You reported back then it was rice and beans. So why would anybody start to think that having a vegan meal was special? You can have a kosher meal, you can have a halal meal, you can have a vegan meal.
Trumpets.
It's all part of the prison system. It's not special, it's not new. Do you have any idea why all of a sudden someone started to think that vegan was special?
Had your kids, had your wife. Well, look, I think that it's troubling what Bryan Kohberger is accused of. You see him come into court in the suit, you hear vegan meal, you hear that there's a computer involved. It makes people mad, and I understand that based on what he's charged with. You don't want to think about him having some kind of, privileged time in jail. But when you really dig into the facts, I mean, it's rice and beans, and it's an old computer that every single inmate gets to use just to plug the thumb drive in and read the court docs.
So here's something else. The picture that's in the middle of the screen between us. This has bothered me since day one, watching him walk in and out of the courtroom in the Latah County Courthouse / jailhouse. It's all the same building. He has a fancy suit on each time. He does not walk in and out of that court in jailhouse orange, which every pretrial hearing typically is. There's no jury present. So you're not tainting a jury by watching him walk in and out in an orange, jumpsuit. They give him this suit, and I've been trying to figure out why.
Yeah, I think there's 5 suits that he has now. Again, I understand why that's bothersome to the victims' families. I mean, it's weird. Even when I've been in court, you see him come in the suit. There's no shackles. Basically, the defense has asked the judge, and the judge is allowing it. They're worried that if, people see him on TV in the prison uniform, if it could possibly taint the potential jury pool. It's actually interesting. I didn't fully realize it, but Lori Vallow was also able to do that. Chad Daybell, Murdoch also, even before the trial. So apparently with some of these high-profile cases, this has kind of become a common trend lately.
Well, and with other ones, we've seen them shuffle in shackles and shuffle out in shackles. So I think it's just, case by case basis. So I can see how some might think that that's special treatment. I knew you would get to the bottom of it all, Bryan Kohberger. You know how much I love having you on the show.
It's always good to see you, Ashley. Yeah, I can see the perception. You heard vegan, computer, but I think when you find out the real story there, it's not special at all.
It's not so special, but you are. So thank you, Bryan. And thank you everyone for joining. Oh, look at him. I love him to pieces. Thank you.
Am I still muted? I'm still muted, ain't I? Damn it. All right, let's go back. And the production was going so well. All right, exclusive. Is that all you've got? Expert slams Bryan Kohberger's attempts to undermine FBI's DNA evidence linking him to the Idaho murders, says the tactic reeks of desperation. I'm back. The DNA evidence against Idaho. The production was going so well. The show was flowing. And then here I am. I always hit that ugly mute button at the top. But anyway, we'll get through it. The DNA. Hey, listen, every show can't be perfect, right? All right. The DNA evidence against the Idaho murder suspect, Bryan Kohberger, is damning. A genealogist expert told the dailymail.com as his defense team seeks to confuse the jury over its reliability. And we know about one of those defense genealogists that went on a show a couple of weeks ago and yucked it up over there. I'll digress on that, but I'll leave that all up to what you think and who that person is. So anyway, the DNA is set to be at the center of a grisly murder case in which Bryan Kohberger, 28, is accused of stabbing to death 40 University of Idaho students in a savage attack last year. His attorney have sought to sully the methods used by the FBI to lead them to their suspect and even suggest Kohberger's DNA had been planted by detectives. The defense has honed in on the modern technique used by prosecutors, genetic genealogy, describing it as a bizarrely complex DNA tree experiment. The method was the key to unlocking the case, as prior to the breakthrough, police had scanting evidence to help them identify the suspect. Here is the bottom line, and I don't know how many times I need to say this over and over and over and over again. Okay, I'm going to explain it, and it's really easy to figure out. It's really easy to figure this out. A knife sheath was found on a bed. Are you getting it? 2 dead victims with Bryan Kohberger's DNA on it. They're going to have to explain how that got there. They're going to have to explain how that got there. That's it. You're going to have to explain it. You're going to have to explain for it. And they can't. And they can't. And that's why they're using all this gobbly-gog. And I did say that word. Gobbly-gob tactics. Junk tactics. Let's go back to the article. It is set to catapult silence beyond Kohberger's arrest into the mainstream, with the American public fixated on the upcoming trial. But experts have told DailyMail.com that the defense tactic reek of desperation, with one stating they don't have much. They don't have much. How investigators found their suspect. We know that. We've been through it. I'm not going to read through this because we know. The evidence is damning. Kohberger's defense team have launched a multi-pronged attack on this evidence, questioning the reliability of the genealogy mapping, demanding prosecution show their works, and even suggests the suspect's DNA could have been planted by an investigator. I think I need the laugh track for that one. Let's get the laugh track. Rather than seeing it as some sort of complex tree building that led to him, it appears far more like a lineup where the government has already aware of who they wanted to target, Logden said. The government. It's the government now. The attorney also said the defense was unaware of what, if any, testing was conducted on the DNA of another man that was found on the glove outside the home where the murders took place, as well as the DNA of 2 other men found in the house. Last month, the defense submitted an affidavit by DNA, Dr. Lee Larkin, echoing their concerns. Dr. Larkin explained that the at-home genealogy tests, such as Ancestry DNA and 23andMe, are not reliable as tests conducted by specialized laboratories. A poor quality kit might have too few matches, or it might have a phantom match that are not real measures of relationship. The document. I mean, what would have been the possibility, right? What would have been the possibility that someone, this guy, all the way from Pennsylvania, went all the way out to a campus that was literally off campus, 15 minutes up the road from where he lived. There's a quadruple homicide, and his DNA is found on a knife sheath. I mean, what could have been the chances when they ran that? You know, when they ran, what could have been the chances? Let's just look at it. What was it? 5 billion octillion, or 5 octillion, the sun, the travel from Jupiter to the Earth 5 times back and forth. I mean, come on. It's a match. You're going to have to explain for it. You're trying to make this evidence go away because you know it's a locked in place case. He's locked in. He's locked into that crime scene because of that DNA. How did it get there? Dr. Lee Larkin cited one example that has nearly 20 possible relationship lines listed for a match with which is considered a close match. But Rachel Feist, the criminal defense attorney who managed partner of, I am not even going to try all that. Blah, 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 blah. And their argument was undermined by the fact of prosecutors saying secured a direct statistical match from suspects to their knife sheath, sequential to their genealogy matching. The DNA evidence is pretty damning. Feist told dailymail.com, it's unlikely to be someone else. That's why the defense team has to pick at the methods used to find the DNA evidence, so that the jury might feel like the family tree method might not work. And so you should ignore the results that followed from there. GD has become an increasingly common method for identifying suspects in recent years, so much so that some defense teams do not choose to question it. Kohberger's attorney were having to do so because they don't have much. She added that they likely saw a necessary step because the juries tend to find DNA evidence fairly credible and give it a lot of weight. I'm not going to get into all this here. Let's see. Police showed up at the doorstep. It's just talking about another case. And investigators can get tunnel vision. The subject credits concern over the message used to mark Kohberger as a suspect. Investigators can get tunnel vision and back off the back of genealogy testing. Ultimately, however, there was a DNA sample to prove the match. We're just talking about other cases here. Kohberger's lawyers have already suggested that investigators allowed themselves to be pinned in by genealogy results and have asked for explanation as how they came to identify Kohberger's car, a white Hyundai Elantra, which was caught on surveillance footage repeatedly passing the student's rental home around the night of the killings. The defense has claimed Kohberger, who was studying for a PhD, I love this one. This is the best. I mean, this is gold right here. This is the most fucking perfect statement. It's the golden fucking statement of this trial. I love this. The defense's claim Kohberger, who was studying for the PhD in the criminology at Washington State University, had a habit. Oh, I fucking love this. Had a habit. I can't. Had a habit of going on long drives alone at night. He was just driving around. And he just happened on the night of a quadruple homicide to just drive into that neighborhood, in and around that house. And that's it. He just drove around. He just maybe wanted to go by and see what was going on. I don't know. We know where Kohberger is being held, and that's it. Oh, great timeline here. Look at this. How the Idaho murders case that shocked the world unfolded. Wow, look at this. Sunday. You want me to read through this? Want me to read through this timeline and see how they have it? Give me a yes if you want me to read through it. You want me to read through this? Give me a yes. If not, we'll move on to the next thing. Yes. All right. Let's see how they have it timelined. Okay. How the Idaho murders case that shocked the world unfolded. All right. We're going to do it. Sunday, November 13th, 2022. Kaylee Gonzalez, Madison Mogen, Xana Kernodle, and Ethan Chapman were stabbed to death in their home in Moscow, Idaho, at early hours of the morning, sometime between 3 and 4 a.m. Earlier that evening, Mogen and Gonzalez were captured on a Twitch live stream close to a food truck while waiting for the order of pasta carbonara. Wow, I actually know what they ordered. Wow, I've never heard that before. Have you heard that? Allie says, hi, I'm late, but I made it. I think the house Maddie was the target. Did you actually ever hear what they ordered? I've never heard that before. That's new to me. Oh, I guess I'm behind. Okay. I'm behind. Dun, dun, dun. You know what it is? I actually have never watched the full Grub Truck video because I was not one of those purple. I think it's him. It's the guy in the hoodie. It's the guy in the hat. I think they did it. I think it was him. Oh my God. Did you hear what Kay said? Did you hear what Maddie said? Oh my God. And they went on it for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks. And guess what? It turned up to be nothing. Kernodle and her boyfriend, Ethan, had returned from the Sigma Chi frat house around 11 minutes earlier. Two other female roommates who survived the attack went to bed around 1 a.m. and didn't wake up until the next morning. Gonzalez called her ex-boyfriend, Jack Takor, 7 times between 2:26 and 2:44. Her sister, Olivia, said he was quickly cleared as a suspect. All right, let's do this. I haven't done this in a while. Well, maybe I have. we're gonna do this. Let's bring in some new members because we're at 131 likies. New members. Let's do it. New memberships. Welcome, new members. All right, I'm going to do this as well. I'm going to slow the chat down just a little bit. Just a little bit. Wiggle it just a little bit. Remember that song? Wiggle it just a little bit. Wiggle it just a little bit. All right. Just a little bit. Welcome in new members. 1 free month on me. It's a $4.99 membership. You have access to all my members only content on my homepage. Just scroll all the way down and you'll see it. You can see all the exclusive live streams there. At the end of your month, please consider supporting LTL Podcast. Click that join button and you can join for $1.99. That's less than a Starbucks coffee. And I would appreciate it. I would appreciate some new members. All right. A 911 call was made at 11:58 that morning. At 2 p.m., students were told of the murders by the University of Idaho, with staffers urging them to shelter in place. Monday, November 14, 2022, Moscow Mayor said the killings, were a crime of passion, only to later backtrack. He said that the theory was one of several under consideration. Tuesday, November 15, 2022, Moscow police called the killings an isolated, targeted attack and added that there is no immediate threat to the community at large. But angry locals, as well as 4 victims' families, slammed what they described as contradictory statements from investigators. That's so funny. You're welcome. Everybody's welcome. Thank you. Wednesday, November 16, 2022, Moscow PD Chief James Fry disclosed the fact that 2 roommates were at home and survived. I was out of my fucking mind when I heard that. I was like, what? What? Right? Remember that? What? Fry angered locals by backtracking on an earlier claim. There were no danger to the wider community. He warned them to please stay vigilant. Thursday, November 17, 2022, the killings were officially ruled by homicide as stabbings at Latah County Coroner Kathy Maybutt. She said all 4 victims were likely attacked as they slept, and they each had multiple stab wounds. Distressingly, some victims were found to have defensive wounds, suggesting they woke up when being attacked, but there was no signs of a sexual assault. Sunday, November 20th, Daily Mail exclusively reveals a local dog was skinned and filleted 3 weeks before the killing, sparking fears of a connection. Yeah, right. Cops later insisted it was not the case. They added that Gonzalez's dog was home at the time of the slayings. The 22nd, cops admitted Gonzalez had been followed around a supermarket. What? Cops admitted Gonzalez had been followed around a supermarket around a month before the killings, but said they were unable to verify claims she had a stalker. Really? I don't remember hearing that. Does anybody else remember that? I don't remember hearing that. Kaylin Gonzalez's father said Steve said his daughter and friend Maddie had been sleeping in the same bed when they were stabbed. Latah County prosecutor Bill Late claimed one of the victims was, his last name's not Latah. It's not Latah. I'm like, what? Oh, that's funny. Someone needs to edit this article. Hours later, Moscow Police Department contradicted the claim, only to admit that they considered the crime targeted one that following day. 6 people are ruled out as suspects. A man seen close to the Gonzalez Mogan food truck, delivery driver when they were home, ex-boyfriend, and surviving roommates of another student who moved out of the property several months earlier. December 5th, Gonzalez dad Steve slammed cops' absurd approach to the case, claiming the Moscow Police Department had been too quick to clear potential suspects and rule out links to other cases. Excuse me. White Hyundai Elantra is said to be towed away from suspect Bryan Kohberger's home in Scranton, Pennsylvania on December 30th after he was arrested. December 12th, Stephen Gonzalez reveals Kaylee had big open gouges as a result of the deadly attack. He branded cops cowards for not sharing information and said his daughter's wounds were more severe than Maddie's. December 18th, new footage emerges. Oh, I'm sorry. A white Elantra has been said to have been towed from Bryan Kohberger's home in Scranton, Pennsylvania on December 30th after he was arrested. Okay. I got it. Oh, I see what they're saying. New footage emerges of showing Kaylee and Maddie hours before the killings walking through downtown while discussing a man named Adam. It's Adam because Adam knows everything. Adam knows everything. Remember? Adam knows everything. Adam always knows everything. Gonzalez family lawyer later clarified that Adam in question is the bartender. On the 27th, more leaked footage shows Gonzalez and Mogan inside the Corner Club bar in Moscow shortly before returning home. December 30th, cops announced they've made an arrest connection with the killings in Scranton, Pennsylvania. The suspect is named as University Washington criminology student Bryan C. Kohberger. Kohberger is nabbed at his home by SWAT teams and arraigned the same morning. On January 5th, Kohberger is extradited to Ohio from Pennsylvania and appears in Latah County Court for the first time. He faces his crying family members of alleged victims as he remained silent during the hearing. The 12th, Ann Taylor, Kohberger's defense attorney, waived his right to speedy trial. May 16th, Kohberger is indicted to a grand jury of one charge of burglary and 4 counts of murder. The indictment means that the preliminary hearing planned in June is canceled. On the 22nd of May, during the plea hearing, Kohberger stands silent and refuses to enter a plea. Fucking coward. Oh, did that slip out? A judge oversees proceeding in Latah County District Court, enters the not guilty plea on his behalf. On the 26th of June, prosecutors announced that they are intending to seek the death penalty. Excellent. The state says that the murder was especially heinous, atrocious, or cruel, manifesting exceptional depravity, and that the defendant showed utter disregard for human life. Kohberger waives his right to speedy trial, canceling his trial date on October 2nd. That was on August 24th. So that is the timeline from Daily Mail. Timeline from Daily Mail. Okay. Whew. I need a break for a second. That was a lot of reading. All right. Dylan Mortensen. We got an update. Dylan Mortensen update. Here it is from the Daily Mail. Again, Idaho murders victim's roommate Dylan Mortensen is isolating herself but healing by gaming online with groups of friends, as her father says he is deeply heartbroken by her brutal cyber bullies. Now, I have to say, Dylan Mortensen, in this case, is probably the most important witness in this case. Super important. Probably, if not the most important. She came within feet of the said killer. Dylan Mortensen, roommate of Idaho murder victims, is reportedly isolating herself after experiencing brutal cyberbullying. Mortensen's father, Brent, said his daughter is in the process of healing. J. Reuben Appelman told Banfield on News Nation. A childhood friend of suspect Bryan Kohberger said he was mercilessly and relentlessly bullied and listened to screamo music to block out the taunting. Oh boy. New details have emerged about the well-being of 21-year-old roommate who was in the house on the night of the brutal massacre and told police she witnessed a man walk past her bedroom after he had killed her friends. Author and private investigator J. Reuben Appelman is the only reporter to speak with the fathers of the Mortensens, only one of only 2 survivors from the University murder house. In the beginning, weeks after those homicides, she was basically dogpiled on the social media. He said in an interview with Ashley Banfield to discuss his new book, While Idaho while Idaho slept. Vile web sleuths had accused Mortensen of being involved in the crimes, while other called her a drug dealer, among other names he added. This was the part of the trauma that she experienced, he said. Dylan herself was retreated from the public eye. Very few people see her. Mortensen's father expressed heartache over his daughter suffering from brutal cyberbullies after a trauma she experienced from surviving the November massacre. But Mortensen's father told Appelman that her daughter is in the process of healing despite being hounded by bullies. You know, she's got to live with this the rest of her life too. You know, you go through a lot of victim guilt. You know, she probably feels guilty in the fact that, you know, 4 of her friends are dead. You know, why is she alive? You go through that. It's increased trauma. She'll have this for the rest of her life. She's in trauma therapy of sorts. She's getting help from spiritual community, he said to Banfield, isolating himself, but she's stepping out a little at the time. She is gaming online with her peers in a group gaming session. She's doing what she can without going into public, he added. Mortensen and Bethany Funk, also 19, both survived November 13th bloodbath, but lost 3 of their roommates. Kaylee Gonzalez, Madison Mogen, and Xana Kernodle in the vicious attack. Xana's boyfriend, Ethan Chapman, 21, was also murdered. Bryan Kohberger, 28. We already know that. Let's see. And this is going to be the book right here. While Idaho slept, a manhunt for answers in the murder of 4 college students. I actually might grab this book. I wonder if I can find the interview. Let's take a look. I got it. I get a little snippy. We'll play it. We'll play the snippy in a second. Let's get to the article. I'll finish this out and I got a little snippy. Let's see. In an affidavit, police described how Mortensen froze in fear early on November 13th after spotting the killer having opened her bedroom door after hearing noises in the 6-bedroom rental house. The witness is described as standing in frozen shock phase as a man walked past towards the house back door before she locked herself in her room. She had opened the door twice before, once after hearing Kaylee say someone was in the house, and again after the sound of crying came from Xana's bedroom. The teen told police she had locked herself in the 2nd floor bedroom after the encounter with the killer, who was wearing a ski mask at the time but did not call 911. Police weren't called to the scene until 11:58 a.m., 7.5 hours after the students died. Funk is believed to have slept through the attack on the ground floor bedroom. According to the affidavit, Mortensen said she awoke around 4 a.m. by what was sounded like Gonzalez playing with her dog in a 3rd floor bedroom. A short time later, she heard Gonzalez say, "There's someone here." The haunting affidavit reveals Mortensen looked out the bedroom door but did not see anything. The second time, she opened the door and heard a male voice say something like, "It's okay, I'm going to help you." That is fucking frightening. At 4:17 a.m., a neighbor's security camera picked up audio what sounded like voices or a whimper followed by a loud thud. The dog can also be heard barking numerous times. Mortensen stated she opened the door for the 3rd time after she had heard crying and saw a figure clad in black clothing and a mask that covered the person's mouth and the nose walking towards her. The family of the victim, Kaylee Gonzalez, defended Mortensen's actions. Attorney Shannon Gray, who is representing the Gonzalez family, said Morton was likely scared to death when she encountered the man and insisted that she was still a victim in this case. In his interview, Appelman also described meeting with the childhood friend of Kohberger, who said the alleged murderer was mercilessly and relentlessly bullied in high school, to point out that he had listened to screamo music through the earbuds to block out the taunting. Yeah, but it doesn't matter. I mean, yeah, but that doesn't give you the right to go out and murder 4 innocent people. The friend reportedly rode the bus with him to the school every day. This young woman had told me that she wished not to be named, but she told me quite a bit about him, he said to Banfield. She said that he was bullied almost consistently as a junior high school student, as she was. They were both nerds who didn't fit in, she said. They were both very close. They were very close. They sat together on the bus almost every day. Kohberger, she said, listened to music in his earbuds to block out the bullying, to block out the sort of chaos and dark of the time period that was living living through, she added. And this is where it goes from. And this is what I've talked about. This is the revenge. I'm going to get you. I'm going to make everybody realize who I am for all of the bad things that have happened to me. You know, the problem with drugs, the theft. You know, I can't be, you know, they don't want me to be a police officer. So I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you what I can do. She said that the administrators of the school did nothing about the bullying at the time. Kohberger would walk around the halls listening to screamo music at times hip hop and rap. Appelman, who is a 25-year-old Idaho resident, was the first reporter Mortensen's father agreed to speak with. He lives just a couple miles from Mortensen's resident, which he said may have given him an in. When I went to speak with her father, you know, I was able to just walk up to the house. Many national news correspondents have tried the same thing, Appelman told Banfield. They hadn't gotten very far. He's a rather large, intimidating man. I don't know if that's part of the reason why national correspondents couldn't sort of break that wall and talk with him. Excuse me. And while Appelman was the first reporter Mortensen's father agreed to speak with, he said, I don't know if I caught him on the right day or what it was I hadn't spoken to anyone else. He just turned down the New York Times. I had Idaho plates on my car. Maybe that had something to do with it. I've lived here for 25 years. I lived just a couple of miles from Dylan Mortensen, actually, and a couple miles in the other direction from her father, he added. I was able to pull up to the house. He answered the door. I told him I was an Idaho guy researching this book, and I don't know if I caught him on the right day or what, but he hadn't spoken to anyone else. He had a very large dog and was watching me very carefully, and I think Brent Mortensen was watching me very carefully too. He has a lot of reason to distrust reporters. Wow. Really great insight, huh? And that's it. Really, really good. I mean, that's really the first we've heard from the Mortensen family too. Wow. All right, let's pull up that interview. I had a little snippet from Banfield. Let's see. It's about a 3-minute segment. Where is it? 2 days ago. Let's play it. Let's play it. How's everybody liking the presentation so far tonight? Give me a 1 in the chat if you're enjoying it. Give me a 1 in the chat if you're enjoying it. I'm sorry I haven't been able to look up at the chat. I've been kind of really just focused getting the best presentation for you all together. Give me a 1. All right. We got a little while longer here. Appreciate everybody being here tonight on the LTL podcast. Your first time over here, please make sure to subscribe. Give it a thumbs up. We're so close to 150 likes. Let me refresh. We're at 146. 150 would be great. And welcome in new members. Welcome in moderators. Appreciate y'all being here. Let's play this video.
I've been told from mutual friends that she is gaming online with peers in group gaming sessions. And she's doing what she can without breaking real out into public. You know, there's so many people that are hounding her. You know, I had a paparazzi guy tell me on the phone, you know, I could get you a lot of money for a photo of her. And that's not how we work in Idaho.
I mean, this isn't a celebrity. She's not Taylor Swift. She is a victim of a horrendous crime. She was there, witnessed it. She will never be the same. This poor child not only went through that horror and lost to her best friends, but she's now been cyber bullied by just a relentless online mob. And I can't even imagine how she in her early 20s is coping, let alone her father having to watch this. I wanted to ask you one other thing that I found super interesting in your book, and that is that you found a friend of Bryan Kohberger's who rode the bus with him to school every day. And this girl had some really significant insight on how Bryan grew up, what kind of kid he was, and how other kids treated him. What was it? What was her account?
Yeah. Yeah, this young woman had told me, and she wished not to be named, but she told me quite a bit about him. She said that he was bullied almost constantly.
See, I think this is fantastic. And this, I'm looking in his background, and I don't know, maybe he did this on purpose, that he knew he was going on News Nation, but I think this is still cool anyway. So he has his wall there. And if you look, he's got notes and he's connecting basically all the dots. And he's got his inspiration here for his book. And he looks like he's got a bunch of notes up here, and I might try to screen grab this and enlarge it to see what his notes were. But I think that's really fantastic, because it reminds me a lot of how when I was, really researching into this case in the first couple of months, it's kind of the scratch stuff that I would put up, not on my wall, but on my desk. And then I would make presentations for all of you, and we would do it in Canva and put these presentations together. But it's really cool to see his thought process of how he does it. It's very similar to how I did a lot of this research on this case too. So big ups to Mr. Appleman. It's really good stuff. He's got TikTok right there. That's interesting.
A junior high student, as was she. They were both nerds who didn't fit in. She said they were very close. They sat together on the bus almost every day. Bryan Kohberger, she said, listened to music in his earbuds to block out the bullying, to block out the sort of chaos and darkness of the time period that he was living through. She said that the administrators of their schools did nothing about bullying at the time. So Kohberger will walk around the halls listening to screamo music and at times hip hop and rap. She said that if you were in junior high and you were bullied by somebody near your locker,
welcome in everybody. Welcome to LTL Podcast. Appreciate you joining us tonight.
Who's next to your locker, right? That continued into high school because the lockers were assigned alphabetically in the Pleasant Valley district, which she called, by the way, colloquially Pregnant Valley, because she said there's
Thank you, Bella. Appreciate you.
Teen pregnancy and lots of social based issues, and it just sounded like a really dark place. And what we know from other reporting from the Idaho Statesman, my good buddy here in town, there's a lot of heroin use, a lot of OxyContin use, a lot of drugs, a lot of darkness. And Bryan Kohberger, as a really heavily bullied student, slid really easily into that. We know about his drug use. What we didn't know so much is the constant bullying that she talked about. And at some point,
I'm fascinated in that only because that will be something that his defense attorney will seize upon if he's convicted, and if there's a secondary, trial for the death penalty, they will bring that in potentially as some kind of a mitigating factor. Hey, J. Ruben Applebaum, I have to leave it there. The book comes out tomorrow. It is called While Idaho Slept, The Hunt for
I think I'm going to grab that book. Hopefully it's on Amazon.
Answers in the Murder of 4 College Students. I'm going to call on you again. You've got some great insight. You've done some fantastic interviews. Thank you for this.
Thank you for watching.
It's good. Good stuff. I think I'm going to grab that book and see if it's on Amazon. It probably is. Okay, so let's talk about our last part of our presentation tonight. So investigators are building a case against suspected student Bryan Kohberger, are probing Amazon purchase in connection to the case. Latah County prosecutors demanded Amazon provide detailed customer click activity pertaining to knives and accessories for a redacted user. Authorities allege Kohberger brutally stabbed 4 University of Idaho students to death in their off-campus home on November 2022. The accused killer's DNA was allegedly found on a knife sheath left by the grisly crime scene. The Law and Order Crime Network, Angela Levy, discusses the latest developments in the case with Jules Epstein, a Temple University law student professor. And let's play that video right here. Let's hear what they have to say.
Search warrants served on big tech companies in the Idaho 4 murder case. What could police be looking for and why? Welcome to Law and Crime Sidebar Podcast. I'm Anjanette Levy. 28-year-old Bryan Kohberger has pleaded not guilty to murdering 4 University of Idaho students in their off-campus home last November. Kohberger was a student at Washington State University, not far from the scene of the murders. Police found the sheath of a K-bar knife underneath one of the victims, Maddie Mogan, but to our knowledge, a murder weapon has not been found. Since March of this year, Moscow police have served several search warrants on social media companies, banks, and even the K-Bar Knife Company. But the records are heavily redacted and the warrants are sealed. The latest documents show in July, detectives seized records for Apple, Amazon, PayPal, Venmo, Google, and YouTube. Also, they seized records for Spotify. But we don't know whose accounts they wanted. We do know the Amazon warrant asked for the click history of the account owner. The warrant to Apple sought messages and anything saved to an iCloud account. And the PayPal and Venmo warrants were looking for financial information like transactions, billing info, geolocation data, and any emails or phone numbers that might be connected to the account. Kohberger waived his right to a speedy trial in August, which means the trial is postponed indefinitely. Joining me to discuss these latest search warrants in the Idaho 4 case is somebody who is very familiar with evidence because he teaches it at the Beasley School of Law at Temple University. He is Professor Jules Epstein. Welcome back to Sidebar. Thanks for coming back.
Thank you for having me. Good morning.
Good morning. Tell me, if you would, Jules, what does this tell you that just in the past 2 months or so, this trial was initially scheduled for October. It was initially scheduled to begin today, in fact, with jury selection. And back in July, they are sending out all of these search warrants. We don't know who they're for, whose accounts, but it was for Spotify, Apple, Amazon, Google, YouTube, PayPal, Venmo. What does this tell you?
Well, this is reading tea leaves, but it suggests a bunch of possible concerns. And number one, this is a death penalty case. And prosecutors have to be and want to be at their most thorough in a death penalty case. And right now, while the evidence is compelling, it's also largely circumstantial. His car, or a car just like it's seen near there. His cell phone indicating travel in that area repeatedly. Of course, there's the DNA on the knife sheath. Whether that's enough for a jury to convict and give the death penalty is anybody's guess. Many jurors or prospective jurors in death penalty cases have said, forget about beyond a reasonable doubt. I will never vote for the death penalty unless it's beyond all doubt.
Is my friend Crime Spy still in here? I saw her in here earlier. Is Crime Spy still in here? Let's see if she's still in here. Let's see if she might have popped out. Is Crime Spy still in here? I don't think she's here anymore. We'll keep playing.
So one explanation is this is the prosecutor trying to cement their
She's
case.
still here. Hey, by the way, I want to congratulate you on 200 subscribers on your YouTube channel. And I'm going to do this for you. We got about 166 people in here. If you haven't already, go over and check out Crime Spies. She's a sweetheart. She's got a great channel. She does a lot of long courtroom trial. So if you like that, go over and check out her channel. She'll do a lot of breakdowns of long courtroom trial. That's kind of her specialty. And get her some new subscribers over there. So go over, subscribe to Crime Spies. She's a sweetheart. She's always over here in the chat hanging out. She always tweets out my lives. She's great. I wish I was better. I wish I was better at Twitter, and it's so tough when you have a channel that's growing, it's getting bigger. So it's so tough to concentrate on other channels. And I'm not saying that I'm not ignoring you. I do see what you do, and I appreciate that. She doesn't have to do that. She's a sweetheart. But go over, give her a like. Subscribe. Check out her videos. She has great lives. And I saw her in here earlier. If you haven't gone over and check her out. I saw was it Twitter or her video today, her short. She lives right in around where Prince's house is, like right up the street from where Prince used to live. Paisley Palace. Do I have that right? Paisley Palace. But she drove by and did a video of that today, and I thought it was pretty cool. Prince is awesome. All right, let's keep playing through here.
Another is they're doing just what good prosecutors and police do.
Minnesota
keep
Nice lives there too.
investigating.
Me too.
And coincidentally, by keeping investigating, that
She
adds or
does.
potentially adds
Paisley Park.
to
Thank
the
you.
arsenal of evidence that they have.
One thing that I kind of this is
You can go in there now, right? They have like a museum area set up in there. You can go visit some of it and go into his like recording studio, right? I think I saw that.
that's what came to mind for me.
Oh, I think by far the best Super Bowl halftime show ever in its existence. I don't give a shit. If you want to fight about it, we can fight about it. Prince's Super Bowl presentation was the best of all time. How can you get out and sing Purple Rain and it starts pouring raining? It's amazing. And the guy didn't even squander once, just played right through it. Amazing presentation.
When I saw this. So this is a death penalty case. It was initially scheduled to begin on October 2nd with jury selection because Kohberger had asserted his right to a speedy
Chica.
trial. He later
Awesome.
waived that right to a speedy trial because it appeared that both sides, both the prosecution and the defense, were not ready to do this. I mean, this is a case with a voluminous amount of evidence. Why are we requesting we don't know if they're for Bryan Kohberger. They could be for maybe an alternative suspect. We just don't know. Or one of the kids involved in this, but we don't know. Why are we requesting this stuff so late in the game if we were, looking toward trial in October? Shouldn't these have been things that possibly should have been requested much earlier?
I don't know why it took people time to initiate these requests. If I understand it correctly, they already have the results. So in theory, they could have been ready for today had the case been going.
Yeah, someone asked about that earlier. Diana, she's not here. She's not here anymore. I had text communication with her, I don't know, month and a half ago. Very brief, just something about the Kohberger case, really brief. Told her she's always welcome back on the panel if she would like to come on. Haven't heard from her. Sorry. That's the way it goes. People will come and go.
Again, it may have been somebody said, oops, we never checked that. It may have been they got lead number one that made them think, oh, now we need to follow up. It may have been that they stumbled on an account of Kohberger's that they weren't aware existed, and that triggered the thought. Sometimes there's also a process when you are requesting, in other words, when police or prosecutors are requesting information from social media, from Google, things of that nature. It takes a while to get it. I don't know all the policies. They may have had issues of having to notify the customer, quote unquote. So I don't want to say they were late. I can't tell.
And that's true. We don't know. And we can't tell because everything of substance is redacted. One thing we can tell, though, is that they subpoenaed or issued a search warrant for records of somebody's Amazon account. Amazon sells just about everything under the sun. You can get anything on Amazon. And they're looking to see what pages a person may have been on in their account, that type of thing. Earlier in the year, there's been a lot of talk of, well, did the suspect own this K-bar knife? And earlier in the year, in March, I believe, they had subpoenaed K-bar knives for records because obviously they had a K-bar knife sheath found at the scene under Maddie Mogan's body. So they're very interested, obviously, in somebody's purchase history or browsing history on Amazon.
Right. And the knife, which has never been recovered, right, is the missing link. Again, I'm not saying there is or is not enough to convict, but certainly if you can put a knife into the defendant's hand or a search for that kind of knife into the defendant's search history, that's going to add a lot to the case. And I should add here, nobody has a right to object to a search warrant directed to Amazon. We don't own that private information under United States Supreme Court case law. When you give information to a third party, you share your credit card, you make purchases, and they keep that information. It's not yours. And so there is no absolute privacy interest where you can say, hey, my rights were violated when you searched my Amazon account. It's just not there.
PayPal and Venmo, they're obviously looking for transactions by somebody. We don't know, we're kind of speculating here. We're doing a lot of speculating, but they had subpoenaed and issued search warrants for, we believe, the victims' Venmo and PayPal accounts earlier in the year. A whole slew of search warrants went out. So they're looking obviously for payments. You can also go on Venmo and basically look other people up and see who they've paid. So maybe they're also using these records to see, did this person look?
I remember that. I think some goofy creator was doing that. They were looking at, and they were like, and then they paid $5 for paper towels. You know what that means, huh? And just making up like all this stupid shit about that. Like, oh, they gave $2 for coffee. You know what that means, right? Oh, it's so funny. You know what that means, right? Remember that? Oh, look, here's one. They paid $5 and said, hey, I owed you for the toilet paper. You know what that means, right? Oh, so stupid. All right, let's keep playing.
Look up. Did person Y look up person X? That type of thing. Do you think that that's part of this process possibly as well, Jules?
I'll be guessing, but the answer is this is the well-known leave no stone unturned. Certainly, if they could find a link of any sort between one of the victims and the defendant, that would be incredibly powerful. Otherwise, they are just checking a lot of information. Maybe there's one other reason. The defense in any criminal case can often raise questions about the adequacy or completeness of the police.
Oh, by the way, after the stream, when it ends, I'm going to go over to a members only. All you need to do, if you are a member, you can just follow this stream over after it completes, and you can go in. We'll do like a half an hour and just hang out and talk about anything over there. So if you are a member, you can go over and join the after party. If you want to become a member and join the after party, you can go down there and click the join button below, start a membership at $1.99 and come hang out. We'll just talk about anything, really. I have some update news that I'll let members only in first before I say it out on the channel. So, all right, let's get about another 8 minutes here. We're going to wrap this one up and then go into the members only live
investigation. Well, you didn't look here and you didn't look there and you didn't check, and alternate suspects and things of that nature.
Hey, thanks for being here.
One added value.
Thank you.
Of this exhaustive
Make sure to like, share, and
is
subscribe.
to say we did check, and there's nobody else out there.
Let's move on to the touch DNA. Touch DNA, a lot of people would say, is unreliable, and it sounds like, from what we know, and we really know very little. We know what was in the affidavit of probable cause to arrest Bryan Kohberger late last year. Is touch DNA, in your opinion, Jules, as unreliable or potentially unreliable as some people claim it is?
So it's weird for me to hear the term unreliable with touch DNA. The DNA is the DNA. The reliability, if you will, is how did it get there? So right now let's do this. I'm touching this item, okay? I'm touching an item in my office. There's the camera, there we go. Okay, clearly my DNA is on it. And if I hand this to you and you...
Yeah, but the fucking DNA is encrusted under a fucking knife sheath where a button snap was, where a deadly weapon would be taken out. So that's a difference between a piece of paper and a knife sheath that would carry a deadly weapon.
Put it in your pocket. Possibly my DNA may now be on your clothes.
So you're saying that they just handed, they put a knife sheath in his pocket and he just walked doom, just walked around, and all of a sudden it just mysteriously by osmosis ends up in a bed with 2 dead victims. Don't see it happening.
So that if my DNA ends up on your clothes, did I touch you or did you get it from putting this thing in your pocket? Well, that's a great question. If there's an innocent explanation for how I touched something that something else touched or whatever that got my DNA. So that if I went to a knife store and picked up a knife sheath, it would have my DNA.
Not under a knife snap.
Then I put the knife down and didn't buy it. At the end of the day, it's his DNA. And the question is, sure, you can say, well, it was touched somewhere else. Okay, where else? Or what else? Or what was there that could contaminate it by 2 things touching? I have no idea what the defense theory or fact is on that. So I get the idea about touch DNA, but until there's
thank you,
a
Carrie, for the new
context
members.
that says,
Appreciate
my
that. I
goodness,
missed it. Thank you.
there is a way that somehow...
So that's 1 free month. That's a $4.99 membership that you just get gifted out to you. And then all we ask at the end of that month, the end of that free month, just join again. It's only $1.99. It's literally less than a cup of coffee. It's 1 cup of coffee. So for the whole year, let's take a look. It's $24. It's $24. That's it. It's $24. Support the channel for $24 a year. That's it. You get all that members only content. And then when we end this in about 7 minutes, we're going to go over and hang out and let our hair down that I don't have and just chat, hang out with the members. All right, let's finish this up and get over to our members only.
Something with his DNA, his own hand, or another item touched that sheath. All we have is his DNA on this sheath.
There have been a lot of people saying online, and I'm saying defense attorneys, they'll say, well, touch DNA
Donna G, rookie
could have been
member,
transferred. You could have shaken
for
somebody's
4 months.
hand,
Thank
or
you
you
so
could have
much.
done this or that, and it could have been transferred that way.
So let's see real quick. Do you think that it's possible he used a different knife that he carried in the sheath, and maybe they found that knife when they raided his parents' house? That's been some good speculation. You know, we've always thought that too, because knife, you know, we're under a gag, so we won't ever really know. But wouldn't it be incredible? The prosecution's open statement, they pull the knife out and say, this is the knife that killed the 4 victims, and it was found in his parents' home, the K-bar knife. Wouldn't your mouth and jaw just drop to the ground? It would drop to the ground.
But your DNA is still, as you said,
Mary Beth,
on a
thank
knife
you so much for your new
found
membership.
under a murder
Thank
victim's
you.
body.
So again, if there, like I said, if we could prove that that knife sheath was in Joe or Sally or whoever's hardware store, and that the defendant worked in that hardware store, that might be an explanation. If we could prove that it was in the hardware store next to the hammers and he went over to reach for a hammer, that would be an interesting explanation. Everybody's right that yes, my DNA on item X does not automatically mean that I held it. but it doesn't mean that I didn't. You need a context.
One of the search warrants we forgot to mention was for Google and YouTube. YouTube is owned by Google. So this could be for any number of things, emails, possibly a YouTube account. What could that tell us, if anything?
Very often, police are looking for searches both before a crime and after. Before a crime, it's what were you looking up?
Well, thank you so much for the five.
In this
Thank
guy's
you.
past, if I understand it correctly, as a
Great cash, homie.
Student studying
No worries.
criminology,
Thank you. Thank you for your contribution.
he
Thank
did
you.
some sort of study with offenders where he asked them a question along the lines of, how did you either pick your victim or approach your victim, something like that. Okay. Well, that's interesting. Whether his research on that would be admissible at trial is a question that could be argued both ways. But suppose he was doing research like that online before the crime. Suppose he did a Google Earth, Google Maps, check out that house before the crime. That would be incredibly powerful. After the crime, it could be anything from how often did he read stories about the case? If there is this peculiar obsession with it, prosecutors have argued that that shows what we call consciousness of guilt. Was he looking at states, countries that have no extradition treaty? Was he looking at alternative explanations for how my DNA got somewhere? When people search, their searches are sometimes just curiosity, and sometimes reflect a concern. So it's either planning or concern.
Bryan Kohberger has now waived his right to a speedy trial. When do you see this case going to trial? What would you see it? Is 2024 a possibility, or do we think it could go out farther than that?
Death penalty cases are different because they're really two trials. You have the trial on guilt or non-guilt. Then you have an entire second trial on punishment. As much as we are focusing on the investigation into the who did it, the lawyers need to also be focusing on the investigation into every aspect of his life and looking for any possible, what we call mitigation evidence, evidence that would argue for a sentence less than death. That takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of money. Having said that, I don't know right now why it couldn't go to trial in the next year.
Well, Professor Jules Epstein, we appreciate your time and your expertise as always. It's always a pleasure. Thanks so much for joining us.
All right. Good stuff. Good stuff. We haven't done a Kohberger stream in a while. I hope this was all very entertaining for all of you. It was nice to scratch the itch again, scratch the surface on this case with a little bit of new information out there. Not too much that we didn't know, that we haven't already known. I thought it was very interesting. The most interesting tidbit of information that I saw that I really liked in the presentation tonight was just really understanding what the mental state and whereabouts of Dylan Mortensen is. So I truly do believe that she is the most important witness in this case. She was eyes. She saw the perpetrator. She saw the person. She can describe them. She heard what went on in that house. She might have saw things that went on in that house. She can tell about the environment of what happened, give a full transparency of what happened in that environment that night. So, the thing that just worries me as time goes on, memories tend to fade. So hopefully she's been very smart about this, and maybe someone has coached her to write down things as they come to her, to remember, to put her back in that place, to make notes inside maybe a journal or a book. Because again, as cases drag on, your memory tends to fade. You forget things. So I'm hoping, You know, Dylan, if you're watching any of these streams, get a journal, write this stuff down. It's going to be very pertinent to the case to remember exact details of things that happened that night. So, again, I think this is going to close things up. We're coming up to the 2-hour mark. If you are a member, you can head over in 5 minutes. I'm going to drop the stream. Probably do a half an hour over there and hang out with you guys and ladies, because it is it's still early for me. So there's the link. I'm going to shut this stream down. If you're a member, you can go in there. If you want to join, literally, it's $1.99, $24 a year to support LTL Podcast. I would appreciate it. Hope everybody comes over. All the members come over and hang out. I'd love to see you all in there. Free flowing conversation. Ask whatever questions you have. I'd love to hear from all of you, and we'll go from there. So head over on the members only. The stream link is there. If you want to join a membership really quick and jump in with us, you can. If not, you can see us on the next live. So that's going to be it. Tomorrow night, I will not be live. I have to work. Going to be back possibly Saturday and Sunday night. Just look out for the lives, 8 p.m. or 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on both Saturday and Sunday night. All right, I'll see you guys over at the members only if you want to hang out over there. If not, I'll see you on the next live. I'm out of here. See you in a bit. Bye.